Remember this? A lot of you probably don't. This is my personal rig I've been working on now forever. The box I've been waiting from Australia has arrived. With its updated design offering support for large GPUs, the all-new H1 from NZXT brings big performance to small form factor gaming. The new H1 features larger ventilation for improved cooling and a new exhaust fan to increase air exchange efficiency, helping it to keep even the most demanding components cool. Taking the guesswork out of parts compatibility, the new H1 features a pre-installed fan controller, 750 watt power supply, Gen 4 PCIe riser cable, integrated AIO cooler, and pre-routed cables. To see the full list of features of the all-new H1 from NZXT, follow the link in the description below. If you haven't seen the first couple build logs of this system I'm building in the Spectre 3, I highly recommend you go and check it out. You might be completely lost as to what stage we're in with this build right now. However, this system has the power board, right? The power board is a power distribution board, which brings all the power from the bottom where the power supply is up to these plugs, and then custom cables connect to the motherboard and the graphics card and ARGB, fan controller, the whole deal. The cables that I used were standard length. They're the ones that came with the case, essentially. They ask you what power supply you're using and how many do you need of, like, say, 8-pin PCI and all that sort of stuff. And then they are custom length if you ask for them, or standard length. Well, the standard length ended up being way too long and having a lot of extra flimsiness in there and play. So they sent me this package, this is Singularity Computers, of course, that has a few things in it. The rattling that you're hearing are replacement screws that will match the machine head screws that are on the rest of the case for mounting my radiators. These are just temporary screws holding in there right now. So that's what the rattling you're hearing is. But they also said, oh yeah, they totally fell out of the package. So the other thing that's supposed to be in here is a PCIe Gen 4 riser cable, because the one that came with the case is a Gen 3. And since I am using a 3090 in here, we wanted to update it to Gen 4, as well as showing you guys the custom cable. See, there's the Gen 4. Geez, I wish I could get one that's like a fraction of that length, because it only has to go from there to there. But anyway, we'll see how that works out. And then we have the custom cables and such. So they gave me a whole bunch of extra, look, they even mounted, they even said it is. It's an M4 with M4 washer. This is the 8mm M4. This is actually the one that I believe was supposed to go in one of these somewhere. I don't remember. Anyway, it's been a while since I've worked on this. 35mm M5. Oh, here's the M10s. Remember how I said the M10? Yeah, it was supposed to be in like these guys right here. These are the M10s. This was a very early sample, so I think that there were some things that had to be worked out with this. Oh yeah. Geez, did they give me enough? I appreciate it though, because I could use these with more systems than just this one. And they are definitely prettier screws. EVGA 1000 watt G6 Spectre 3 20 centimeters. Yes, so I asked for shorter cables, that's it, for down here. Let me show you why, and then I will debut what my cables are gonna look like for this build, because there is a custom theme to them. So down here, and allow me to get my iFixit kit and my screwdriver. You would think one would have tools ready to go when they're building a computer, but no. We build on hopes and dreams around here. 1 year at a time. See how they're all sort of just like, blah. So the shorter cables should help with that to alleviate any issues there. Let me take this 3090 out of here. I'm thinking about changing the card. This is the Strix 3090 with the Corsair block on it. This chrome bit just does not go with the rest of the build. So I'm thinking about changing the block, or potentially the card to the one out of the Skunkworks, which I stopped using over there, which is an MSI card, but it has an EK water block on there, which is solid black, which will look good. So it's important to keep track though of like what cables go where, because you've got your power supply cable to the power board, and then you have your power board cable to your component. So that's important to keep track of. But look at the length of these cables versus the new ones. So you can see, this will definitely allow me to make it nice and tidier. They're not labeled in any way, so that's why you have to see how those two are like fused together. So that's how you can tell they're PCI Express. See on the left right there, that one's got no slit, that one does. So that's EPS. And they just went with black cables on the bottom, which is fine, because that's not gonna show if you do it right. So by taking out this length cable, all smushed down in there, which had to like zigzag down in here and was pushing against the floor, now it's short enough to where it's off the ground right here. So now I have room to put my control box and stuff down here without it having to interfere with all of that. The only downside with these cables is because of the fact that the EVGA power supply has the tabs facing opposite directions from each other, these have to like twist. And then as they twist, they kind of come apart a little bit, but whatever. Again, it's all gonna be underneath the plate right here, which you can still see them kind of down in there, but that's fine. Now look at all the space we got right there. So I've got to take this off now to switch out the riser cable with the PCIe Gen 4. All right, so here's the Gaming X Trio MSI 3090 in here. A few things I've noticed. One, the mount for the Gen 4 riser that they used is different than the one that came with the Gen 3. You see this piece I have wedged in there? Oh, and also too, it's also closer, look at this, now this is getting really tight. It's also closer to the motherboard than it was before. Well, I guess not really, because it does line up right there with that hole. But there's one thing I'm not too happy with this riser. Watch, so I've got this socket cover, right, pin cover, wedged in there. As soon as I take this out, look at the riser. It's all bowed right there. See, it's bowed under there because the Gen 3 riser that they used, it has this isolating tape right there, but you see it's got this hard plastic piece right here that made up for the gap height, or the height difference between the mount and the riser. So that one's bowing under the weight of the graphics card. So I had wedged like this piece in there as like a shim, and what I could do is cut that off, right? Sharpie the edge black so you don't see it, and then wedge it in there, and then it will take the weight. But to be honest, and then I actually had to put electrical tape around right here because for whatever reason, the riser cable that Singularity Computers decided to use has a red trim on it. So look, I know if I go back to Gen 3, I'm gonna lose a few percent of, gaming performance, but you know what? I think that's fine because I've been running a 10900K at home with a 3090, and if I'm not mistaken, the 10900K is also PCIe Gen 3. I believe Gen 4 started with Intel on 11th gen. So because of just the flimsiness of this PCB, as you can see right there, I'm making the executive decision to go back to PCIe Gen 3 riser cable. I felt that this was much more beefy, and yeah, I think that's gonna be fine. Side note, now that you can see what this looks like up in there, I've been trying to figure out where I want to put my sensor panel, and I'm thinking if I can find a nice, pretty bezel to put around my sensor panel, I can mount it right here on the graphics card, like just right in the middle. Then the cable can go up and around and then plug into the back of the card right there, and that's where my sensor panel will be. This is the best part about the ARGB headers, is just the fact that, you know, on the power board, I can just plug them in wherever I want and then hide the cable. So there's 3 there, there's some there, but I'm not gonna plug this in yet because it'll probably come back out again. But anyway, there it is mounted back up with the PCIe Gen 3. I did break the tab off on the back, not intentionally, but now it's fine, okay? Gravity will keep it where it needs to be. Now I can show you guys the cables. This is what we were waiting on the entire time, and this is the theme I chose. Check this out. So black, gray, and silver. It's already trained, so I should be able to just be like, so remember how the other one was so long, it had all the extra slack? Look at that. I just wish the height was even, that way they didn't have this kind of a weird, I guess I could train them like that. So there's that. We're stupid. These will go right here. Pretty sure. See, perfect. It is perfect, actually. Yeah, so this is what took so long to finish this, is these, you know, Singularity Computers is down in Australia. Down under. And then, I probably should have plugged the one on the right in first, huh? So you get the idea. That goes there. And then, no, these are gonna look so, dude. Yeah, that's so much better. Remember how I had all the extra slack before? Here's my 3 plugs that are for the graphics card. They are so good. Do you see how the tab on this one is on the bottom? The tab on that one's on the top with that same training. Do you know why? It's because they flip these over to make sure that they're exactly the right way. So if I were using an EVGA card, by the way, EVGA, for whatever reason, has all the power plugs inverted. So these actually wouldn't have worked because they would have been like this. So I'm kind of glad, to be honest, I didn't go with my initial idea of using like a kingpin card or something, because if they're the same as like the For the Winds and whatnot, then they would have been upside down. So that is why it took so long to get to this point, is I was waiting for these cables to come. And I'm gonna tell you right now, short of these blowing up my system because they're somehow wrong, which I doubt is gonna be the case, this is absolutely beautiful. Look at that, pull them up a little bit higher even. These are the nicest looking cables I've had in terms of like custom length and stuff in any system I've ever done. Just because of the fact that they are truly like, because of the power board is why this is possible. And these need to be trained. Like that one needs to come down. And that one needs to come up. Dude, I'm so happy. Now with the sensor panel here with a proper bezel on here, that would look awesome. I'm gonna tell you right now, when I'm live streaming and stuff and I wanna know like, what are my temps? What's my FPS? Do you know how many times I'm like, what's my FPS right now? Okay, cool. You know, it's nice. And yes, I could do a little stand and have it on my desk or something, but no, in the system is cooler. So there's that. Now, I need to show you the fittings and stuff I got for this, because you're gonna see this all tied together now. So I chose this color scheme specifically because I am going with the EK satin titanium colored fittings. So there's that. The drain valve is absolutely bonkers. It's like maybe the coolest drain valve I've ever had. See that? I'm gonna do that. So you have a fitting and a tubing on there and you just pull right there. So that activates the valve. All the fluid comes out and when you're done, just go push it. That closes off the valve and then you can put the cap back on. I love that. And it doesn't stick out too far to seem odd. Like, cause it'll be on the back side, you can't see it anyway. But I went with silver because of the contrast. Otherwise black would have looked really good right there. But yeah, so you can't accidentally open it with the cap on because see, it locks it off. So there's this and then, so I've also got this offset angle fitting, which I used to use a double rotary 90 to do, but this is just much cleaner to do this. So let's say I wanted to put this here, and if I need it to line up with something that it's just barely off with, so you have a lot of adjustment in terms of where the fitting lands to make that work. Now I got a bunch of these because I'm not sure where I need them. So that's just why that's there. I do have extensions. There's a short one, medium one, and a long one. I've got all of those. I love this finish. Now it looks like my JayzTwoCents block has a monocle on. It's all like looking at you pedantically now. Anyway, if you guys are wondering like, where do I get all my water cooling parts and stuff? Anything I need for custom builds like this always comes from performance-pcs.com. There's no other resource. And yes, this is absolutely a baked in promotion because of the fact that they have supported me in all of my builds for years. I absolutely am gonna plug them. Now you might have noticed, Jay, how exactly do you plan on, attaching your fittings to your stuff? Your tubing. So this is the double O-ringed 14mm hard tube fitting that they have. And once again, they do have, and it's not on here right now, but you can put the little accent color collars down on there. These are just the satin. I love the way these fittings all look together because it just looks industrial. You can see this black and silver theme I said I wanted to do really popping out. And the cool thing is the silver is still part of that monochromatic color theme that if I want to, I can go with pink lighting, pink fluid, green, blue, it'll all work. That's why I've been doing away with color theming my cables lately and just leaving them monochromatic. That way I can, on the fly with lighting or fluid, change the theme of my system. But look at this. That matches really well with the fans, although this is much more shiny because it's like polished. And you can see now how well all of this is just coming together. I think I might have cleaned out Performance PCs on all of their satin fittings, by the way.
Nah.
No, they had plenty of stock, they really did. I think I cleaned them out on the 14mm though when I ordered these. It's been a few weeks, I'm sure they've been replenished. That's gonna look so bitchin'. Yes, I said bitchin' because I'm old. And I'm a 80s kid. Now what I love about these fittings being so short, the compressions, is I have to do a 90-degree tube right there. So these they won't be sticking out so far that I won't be able to actually make that bend. And I think I might actually, now that I see the fittings, I think I need to lower the radiator to like 2 millimeters. I'm gonna put all of these like fittings on here real quick, at least on the rad and the reservoir, so I can see what that looks like, and then we'll wrap up this particular one. I know I said I wanted the next video to be the finish of it. Like, the nervous part about getting custom cables made or power boards or anything like this is just, let's make sure nothing fries. Now, there's enough Spectre 3 builds with power boards out there now to where I'm not concerned, but you know, these cables are handmade by a human. I'll just feel a whole lot better once it's on. Oh, and then obviously I needed a pump. So this is just a PWM D5 pump that's gonna go right down there. Doesn't have to be pretty or anything because of the fact, look, Phil, it's SATA.
Whoa, finally!
I mean, it's not sleeved, but it's SATA. We're, getting there. At least it's black cables and not the yellow and black and then blue for the signal. So you guys remember that flow meter I got at Micro Center that turned out to just be a drain valve? Well, I went with the flow meter from Barotech. Check this out. It's a digital flow meter, which will give me a digital readout, which I'm planning on putting like right there. So it's gonna go from like there to there to there. So someone asked me why I wasn't going with the Z690 EVGA board. And I specifically said, I can't go with the EVGA board because they relocated the EPS power and there won't be any plugs there. Well, clearly they thought of that because there's 2 EPS powers right next to the 24 power. Because on the EVGA boards, EPS are right here. So I'll have to figure something out. Like, I wish this was a little lower. What they used to do, like, so they had multiple, not this one, but like other distribution plates would have like multiple outputs at the appropriate height. Anytime I do this, people go, you're gonna block your RAM. When the only tab is at the top, you can get RAM in and out, no problem with tubing in the way. Every build I've ever done, I've had tubing go in front of my RAM and it's never been a problem. If the tube came up like that and then bent, yeah, and then I can just have the height be where I need it to be based on that axis, take this back out. This is the part I know is boring for a lot of people, but it shows you a lot of things you can think of while doing these builds to overcome these sorts of challenges. That'll work, just like that. So it'll land about right there. Or I could have it land about right there, but then we'll cover up some of the tubing. That won't look too bad though. Maybe I'll put it there like that. The screen's still small enough to where it may not look so bad. See, this is the part that takes so long with these custom builds like this, is truly trying to figure it all out. Yes, and then I can point this at that fitting. So we're even up a little bit higher so it comes up and then straight in, and then it ends up being like that. So it's not blocking my cables, it's not blocking my RAM, and it's not blocking my monitor. That will look so good right there. I'm actually really excited about this flow meter deal right here. I might get that thick foam, double-sided foam tape, where it's like 1/2 inch thick or something like that, and then I could be like, because I want some of this weight to be supported, quite honestly, and not just be sitting on the tubing, but I think that's gonna look real good. Changing out the GPU was like an absolute must, but those fittings against this color scheme look amazing. All right, guys, that's it for today's ride along, if you will, on this build. I made a huge mess on this table and I really didn't get much done. But I got enough done now to see that the pieces that I ordered and the vision in my mind are absolutely coming together. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the finish of this build in about 17 months. And we'll see you guys in the next one.